Hey everybody, welcome back to Build It with Tim. On today's episode, we're building a family planner app. Okay, I was scrolling through social media recently and I saw an advertisement for an iPhone app that was a family planner style application. And I thought, you know what? We can build this on Tadabase. So this is likely going to be part one of two or three. I don't know exactly, but we're going to start building out the application using all the native features that we can. And then we'll likely come back and like stylize it, customize it, maybe add some custom code, things to really take it to the next level. So anyways, we're building that family app today on Build It with Tim, and let's get started. Okay, so finished app demo time before we actually start building. We're, like I mentioned, we're building this family planner app to kind of mimic some of these actual mobile apps that I've seen. And what we're doing here is we have our family dashboard that right now contains some stuff. Ideally, I want it to contain a lot more, but for now, this is what we are doing for part one of this video, I guess. So we have a nice little welcome message with an automated quote per day, which is very cool. We have the ability to add new events and new lists for our family and display some things that are upcoming. So some things that we want to put attention to for, in this case, what our particular week looks like. Okay, so we also have a dedicated calendar page where we can view all of the family's events, no matter which family member is attending, whether it's soccer practice for one kid and dance classes for the other, or work schedules or whatever, can all be maintained right here on the schedule. We also have the ability to create and edit multiple lists where we can then view those lists and check off items when they are complete. The way this whole process works is when somebody signs up, they create an account, they become the account holder, and then they can add family members to their particular family. And the entire application is 100% multi-tenanted with the ability to actually configure and maintain family specific options for different type of objects. So in this case, the event types can all be added and edited completely unique for each family. So my event types for my family are going to look different than your event types for your family. And same with the actual lists. So if we go to add a list, the list types are going to be unique and configurable to me and different for you. So that's the basis of this application. We're going to go through the whole process of building it step by step. It's a long video, so buckle up and here we go. So I have an idea of the direction that we need to go here, okay? But we're going to start from basically nothing, okay? And we're just going to start building out our data tables, all of the fields that we're going to need, and then of course we'll go over to the page builder. So here's the idea with the application where we have users that log into the application and each user is going to connect with a family. So the first thing we're going to do is create our family's data table. And in this case, we'll just have a family name. Really, really straightforward in the sense that for right now, all of the data we're capturing about a particular family is just going to be the family name. Now, right away, we're going to know that a user is going to connect to that family. So we'll add that connection field now on the users table. Now, the other things that we want to keep track of for this family planner app to work is we mainly want a family calendar. So everybody in the family can add events to that calendar and it can be seen across your entire family. And that's going to be made up of different event types. So to make this a multi-tenanted kind of solution here or application where multiple families could sign up for this particular app, we are going to make sure that every single thing that we build, every single table is always going to have a connection to a family. Now for the calendar, what we're going to do is we're going to start with a basic calendar kind of setup here, which is going to be a calendar data table with an event name. So we'll change the name of this default field. And of course, we need to know when that event is. So we'll actually use a date range field for that. And then we're going to have a connection to the users, and it's going to be a one-to-many connection. Now, I don't use this that often, but I'm going to use it in this particular case because there's likely that within your family, when you're planning events, different family members are going to go. So let's say something like soccer practice, right? Mom and child are going, right? So we're going to make sure that we can actually connect to multiple users per event. So family member, parentheses, plural. Family members. So we'll also want to know maybe who created the actual event. That might be helpful so that we know who actually is doing what. So that's going to be a one-to-one connection to the users table. And then something we're going to build in a moment here is going to be the event type. Okay, so this will be something interesting that we can do. Every single record here is going to connect to a family. But what I wanted to do with this app is give each family the ability to define their own event types, right? Because every family is different. Every family is doing a million different things. So we're going to build it that way. So we're going to have another table called event types. And what this essentially is an alternative to a select field. Okay, so on the calendar record, we could maybe take an option field, use a select field and say, you know, soccer practice, dance class, whatever. We could list out all of the different event types, but this is a predefined list that can't be edited through the actual application, only through the builder. So in lieu of doing that, we're actually going to move all of those options to their own table. So now all of those particular event types can be managed per family through the actual live app. All right, so we're going to create a bunch of different event types for a particular family. And we'll go from there. Okay, so we have our event type, and then, like I said, I'm going to keep repeating this over and over again, but every single record is going to be connected to a family. This is going to form the basis of our multi-tenanted solution. And when we get to the actual page builder, you'll understand why, because we can filter all of the records to make sure that the records that we're displaying, whether it's calendar, event types, whatever else, it has the same connection to the family as a logged in user. So for the event types, I'm just going to copy some stuff here. Let me just move this over. I started building this. I didn't want to do it all from scratch. But anyways, here's what we got. We're going to do vacation. We can do dance. We're going to do homework. All of the things that you might want to schedule for your family. Okay, we'll just do one more after this. That's soccer practice that I have mentioned a couple times. Okay, there. So these are our event types. And then when we actually have a family in place, we'll connect them all to the family. But this is going to be the basic structure, right? Okay, now the other thing that I wanted to do, we have to do this. So every single calendar record is also going to connect to an event type. So let's do that now. We'll add that connection field going from calendar event to the event type. Now what that looks like through the builder right now, at least, is, hang on, I'll show you. For every single calendar event that gets added, we're going to have to select an event type. Now, if I add or remove or change any of these particular event types, that's going to be reflected here in the connection field because we're loading all of those event type records as selectable options. So we'd have to select vacation and then, Disney World. This will be the event name, and we'll put in our dates and all of the family members who are attending. And of course, when this is being submitted through the live app, we'll make sure that all of these other connection fields are set, like who created it and the connected family. Okay, but that's how that's going to work. Now, this is really like the core of the entire application, what we have right here. Now, replace calendar and event types with anything else, whether it's lists, which I'm going to do next, right? You're going to have families might want to maintain certain lists to keep track of, whether that's a grocery list, a shopping list, a chore list, a to-do list, any type of list, same thing, where we're going to have types of lists that are essentially just options, selectable options that we can maintain through the live app, an actual list itself, and then specifically for lists, we're going to have a third table actually to contain all of the list items, right? So if it's a grocery list, then you can add all of the items to the grocery list. All right, so let's set up these lists now. So the first thing we're going to create is the actual main list table. So this is going to be the table that's actually going to contain the name of the list and what family the list is for. So right here comes our connection for families. And that's okay. The list name and the family. The next thing we're going to create is the list type. So very, very similar to the event types where we have all of the kind of configurable options that we're going to contain here. The list type table is going to be contain the same thing. So just to get started, we'll copy and paste some items in here. So we'll do like a to-do list, a chore list, a shopping list, and a grocery list. And there's our lists types. All right, so now within our lists themselves, we're going to create a list item or a list record, and it's going to have a connection to the family and a connection to the list type. So we can define each individual list record with a particular list type. And the other thing we'll add here is just a way to keep track of, since we don't actually have like a text field to for each individual list record, we'll just do an auto increment. So each list will have its own ID. And we're going to use this for connections right now, actually. So for the list items, right? So we're going to keep track of, list items. Okay, so for a grocery list, you need to then add items to that grocery list, and those are stored here in this table, the list items table. And I realize that I'm kind of going through the data structure a bit quickly without necessarily explaining everything, but it's going to all come together in the end, I promise. And I'll go back through each table so we can kind of get an overview of everything that we're working with. So we're going to have our list item name, which in this case, we'll just call it a title or something, but we can change this on the page side. So when we build out our pages, and we have a form to add a new list item, we can change the name of the field to whatever we want. So on a form component, we could say, what would you like to add or something. Right, and then the list items is going to have a connection to the list. And here's where that auto increment is going to come into play. We'll use that as our display field. So it's going to be connected to this particular list. And that's almost done. We need some way to just mark it as done or complete. So for that, we could use a decision box, but in this case, I'm going to use the multi-select. So done, and we'll have here, we'll use like a check mark emoji, and we'll put it inside of a color badge too, just to make it look kind of cool. So when something's done, they'll select that, and that will mark it as done. And then of course, our connection to the family. All right, so that's it for now. Now there's going to be a lot of other things that I might think about, between this video and maybe the next, about other types of things that a family might want to keep track of. But for now, we have the calendar events and the lists. Okay, so the calendar events have an event type, and that event type, remember, we are storing the event types as a configurable list, configurable options in a separate data table, because we want each family to be able to define their own event type. So within the calendar record itself, we have a connection to the event type, the name of the event, the date range for the event, a one-to-many connection for all of the family members who are going to be attending the event, the user who created it. So let's do created by, and a connection to the actual family. The event types, which is connected to that calendar table, contains the name of the event, or the name of the event type, or whatever type of event it is, and a connection to the family. Now the list is incredibly similar with one additional table. The list has a connection to the family, a connection to the list type, and an auto increment. The list types, again, configurable list per family, which I'm realizing now I forgot that connection to the family. Okay, so each family can define their own types of lists that they want to keep track of. And then the list items are going to be all of the actual things that need to be actionable within each list. Okay, so that's it for the actual data. Now, while we're here in the data builder, I'm going to go through each table and define some table rules, and we'll talk about each one and why we're doing it. The first one that we're going to be doing is on the calendar table. So we're going to set up some rules here to run every single time a record is created, edited, or both. And we're doing it on the table level so that we don't have to, we can just create these rules in a singular place rather than possibly across multiple forms to do the same thing. So first one is going to be on create. We're going to set created by to the logged in user. And this next rule we're going to see across basically everything else in this app is we're going to set the family connection to a logged in user's field of the family connection. Now for this particular rule to work, we have to ensure that we are setting a value of a connection field from the value of a connection field. So join to join. So we're taking the actual connection field that is connected to the logged in user and setting it to this family connection field. Both are connection fields to the same table, so we can pass that connection from one table to the other. Okay, so that's going to be that. Event type, same thing. Every single time an event type is created, we can leave it created or edited, that's fine. No, I'll just do created. Family to a logged in user of the logged in user's field of family. And we'll go through and we'll do this for all of the other tables. Okay, so I'm done creating those rules. And again, just to reiterate what that's going to do, that means that every single time a record is created inside of any of our tables, it's always going to have the connection to the family that is the same connection as the logged in user. Okay, so that's going to ensure that our all of our filtering, all of our page security, and everything that we're doing to make this a multi-tenanted app is going to work consistently throughout the actual page side of the application. So let's move on to the pages now. And the first thing we're going to do is the actual sign up workflow. So the idea here is that somebody's going to come to this application, whoever's going to create the account for the family is going to visit the sign up page. And we'll do that all through the sign up form. So we'll start there. We'll go to our sign up form and we'll utilize all of the form rules and stuff like that in order to accomplish everything that we need. So I actually want to make one more change. I do this a lot where I get to the page where I say, you know what, I want to do something else. I'm going to go back to the users table here and I'm just going to change the name field. So right now the name field is the text field and it's designed for the full name of the user. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to change this to the first name and I'll show you why in a little while. First name of the user, and then we're going to add an additional text field to be the last name of the user. Okay, so we'll move that up there and now we're okay. So back to the sign up form. We're going to remove this name field and add the first and the last name back to the form. And we're just going to require the first name, I think. So we won't require the last name. We'll just require the first name. And we're going to also include the family connection. By configuring the family connection field, we're going to allow users signing up to insert a new family. So create a new family record. And we're going to make sure that we limit this dropdown to families connected to the logged in user. And lastly, we'll just, we will require this particular field and we should be good to go there. So what this is going to look like now is it created an additional page for us to add a new family. So if we sign up for this application, first name, last name, family, there are no families and we don't want anybody else's family to show here. So that's why we limited or filtered the field. But now we can add a new family and we'll do the young family. Okay. And now we can save this. And upon submitting the actual sign up form, we've already inserted the actual family record. So if we look back at our data, we have this. And now that we're submitting the sign up form with that selected connection, we're gonna connect myself as a logged in user to this particular family. Now, the other thing we need to do on that particular sign up form is set the role. So let's go back and actually make sure that we set that role, because we're going to do a couple different role-based things throughout this app, and I want to just set myself up for success in that regard. So account creator. Okay, so let's do, or how about account holder? So I will be the account holder. And the other one we'll do is this family member. So this will kind of differentiate the actual family members, where the person who created the account, who holds the account, some parent, and other family members. And we won't need the default role, so I'm just going to get rid of that for now. Good. So let's go back to our sign up form, and we're going to add that as an additional rule here, where we're just setting the status and the role, because I noticed when we actually went back and checked that user record, both of those two things were blank. We need a way to set those. So update the user and set the status to active, because this person is signed up. Yes, they are indeed active. And the role we're going to set to account holder. And just for consistency, we'll go back here and just, oh, I'm sorry, status was active. Okay. We will complete this particular user role. I'm going to leave profile picture blank. If you want to do the profile picture, you're more than welcome to, but I'm going to leave them blank for now. Right. So that's our sign up page. Now it redirects automatically to the profile. And I think that's great, because from the profile, I'm going to build the not only the personal user profile, but like the family profile. So right here on the profile page, maybe we can kind of call this the My Account page. This is where we're going to have the account holder then add their family members, right? So that now we can have the ability to add all of your family members to your particular family. So back on our builder page, we're going to go to profile. And we are going to start building out some profile stuff. So I'll just move some of this around a little bit. We'll just make this look slightly different here. That's going to be the My Profile. And this is going to be visible to everybody on this page. Now, granted that they're logged in, right? Because you need to be logged in order to view the profile. But if we look at the row visibility that the HTML and the profile component are located within, see, it is public. So that means in order to be on this page, you need to be logged in, but there's no visibility set on the row itself. So anybody who's logged in can view that. And that's fine for the account holder and also for the family members. I'm going to add an additional row down here, and I'll set this one to only be visible to the account holder. So me as the account holder right now, I can then fill out my family profile, meaning, I guess in this case, just adding family members to my family. So to do that, we are going to kind of set it up similar to the profile here above. We'll add an HTML component, and we'll call this just family profile. And I believe that was heading 1 above here. Yeah, heading 1. And below that, we will add, let's see, we'll add a column. We'll actually add 2 columns to the right, because we're going to design this in a way that there's a form on the left and the list of family members on the right. So we'll make this one fill the rest of the space of the page. And here we'll have our form to add a user. Now, we're not going to do any of this. We're not going to do the creative form to add a record connected logged in user. We're going to just choose the users one. We're going to just add a user record, but we're going to set the connection to the family based on my connection to the family. So here we go. We're going to add family members, and we'll rename this. First name, last name, email, and password. Okay, so the email, right? Obviously, we need the email to actually log in. So, if we're building this, I was thinking about this. Well, our children always going to have an email address. If they're in a school system, likely they have one. So it's take it as you will, I suppose. But in order to log into the application, they're going to have an email. So even if it was a family email address or a fake email address that you were using for your family to log in, that's fine. So in rules, we're going to set up, we're going to update the status and just make sure that that's set to active. And we're going to set the role to family member. Okay, and that's going to add our, whoops, almost forgot the most important thing. The most important rule is we're setting the family, very similar to those table rules that we set up earlier, to the logged in users field of family. This is going to share my connection with the record that's being created, and now they'll be connected to the same family. And here we'll use a list component to display users. And we'll do the first name and how about role for now. You can put whatever you want on here. I'm just going to keep it simple in this regard. So this is the first time I'm going to use this filter, but we're going to be using this frequently, almost for every single component across this app. We're going to set up a data source filter. And so that's through the data source of a component and then the filters menu or filters tab here. This is a server-side filter, meaning that this filter takes place before the page even loads. Okay, so this is a really great way to make sure that the data that you intend for people to see is exactly the data that they should see and nothing else. And the filter that we're going to be doing is, again, connected to the logged in user. So we only want to show users where the user's family connection is the same as mine, the same as the logged in user. So I'm going to repeat this particular filter across nearly every component in this application. Highly important in order to make this multi-tenanted app work. So that's good for that. Now, I believe I'm still logged in on the profile. So now we can refresh this page and take a look. So let's say I want to add family members. So this would, my spouse, spouse@test.com. Okay, and then how about child 1? And child 2. Okay, so now I have all of my family members configured. Okay, everybody is now part of my family as far as this app is concerned. And now we can move on to the other stuff where we are then building out the ability for people to create calendar events, lists, event types, list items, things like that. Okay, so, right, what's next? Okay, let's start with some pages that I know I'm going to want. I don't know exactly how I want them to be yet, but we want some sort of dashboard that's going to welcome the user. It'll act as our home page, and it will contain a bunch of different information that's relevant at the given moment that they log in. So we'll add this to our layout and our menu, and we won't add any components right now because, again, I don't know exactly what I want this to be. The other thing I know we're going to want is an actual family calendar. So we can use the calendar component here in order to display all the calendar events. And our lists. Okay, so these are all of the lists that you may have, right? Grocery, shopping, whatever. So we will add these. And again, I don't know exactly what I want these to look like, but I know I want to have these particular pages. All right, after some thought, I have an idea of how I want this particular dashboard page to look. So here's the dashboard page. There's nothing on it right now. Before I continue though, let me just secure this whole layout. So the layout is only available for people who are logged in. Okay, sorry, small tangent there. The dashboard. I know what I want this to look like. I want to have a welcome message. I want to have buttons to add new events and new lists directly from this page without having to go navigate to another page first. And I want to show like upcoming things, right? Or things that are relevant to basically now. So upcoming events and things like that. I found something cool. It's basically an open API for quotes. I'm going to add a custom pipe, and this pipe is for something called Zen Quote. So we're going to add Zen Quote here, and it's a really, really easy way to get a quote every single day. And here's the endpoint that we're going to use, zenquotes.io/API/today. It's a GET request and it requires no authorization. And every time this pipe runs, we will just get today's quote. So all we need to do is map out, I want the block quote. I want the HTML here that actually shows this as a block quote. And you can read more about them on zenquotes.io. But anyways, I'm going to map that particular response and only that response. Block quote. I'm going to save that response, and that's all I need to do. So every single time I log in now, we're going to show a quote and a welcome message for the particular user. So what that's going to look like is this. So we're going to split this page into two columns, or split this row into two columns rather. And the column on the left is going to have an HTML component. And we're going to start by saying something like, nice to see you. And we're going to use that logged in field of the first name. So nice to see you, Tim. And we'll change this to heading 1. Now below it, we're going to show the quote. Now, how do we show the quote with a pipe? Well, the HTML component can run a pipe. So we're going to add that pipe here, the Zen quote, and we don't need any parameters. All we have to do is add that block quote response, and it will show just like that. So let's go back to our live app now. Well, okay, I don't have that configured on the menu. So we'll just go back here and preview this page. How about that? All right, so now it should say, nice to see you, Tim, and it's going to show us our quote of the day. And when I log in tomorrow, it's going to show me a different quote. So a nice little touch, I guess, for this particular family app. I think it lends itself nicely to what we're trying to accomplish here. Okay, we'll add another column to the right and make sure that that one's also split half width of the page. Make it 6 out of 12. And here we're going to add a list component of families connected to the logged in user. So I just want to show my family. And the reason I want to do this is I want to just show my family name. I'll hide the column title because I don't need to know that that's family name and then my family name. I know it's my family name. Anyways, what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to add 2 detail pages off of this one component. So we can add as many detail pages as we want. And the reason we're doing that is because we want to then have one page for adding an event, one page for adding a list. Now that those pages are there, before I get myself kind of confused, we are going to just rename these. So this is going to be add event. Save that so we know what details page is which. And this one's going to be add list. Okay, now we know which is which. And we're going to go back in here and just configure a couple of things on this list just to make it look nicer. Number 1, what do I want to do? Yeah, I'm going to remove the title and we're going to hide that name. And this is a cool little trick we can do is we can actually just give this a heading class. So H1, because we want to make the family name big. The 2 buttons, I'm actually going to put in columns in their own rows. So 2 side-by-side columns, the one on the left for one button and the one on the right for the other button. And I'm going to change these titles, add event. And how about we do like a calendar? We'll do a calendar emoji there for add event. Hide the title. Make this a button. We're going to leave it solid fill. Block, meaning full width. We'll make it large and we'll change it to the info color. And we'll do the same thing over here, except this is going to be add list. So first let's start with our emoji, whatever. We'll just do like a piece of paper, a little list. Add list. Hide the title. Format as a button, solid fill or solid style, block fill, large size, info color. That should give us what we want and almost. Okay, one more thing I forgot is the layout. So we're going to change this to 1 column and the default style. Okay. I think that's fine. There's a couple little tweaks I want to make with some CSS here. We're going to give the list component a custom CSS class, and we'll just call that my family. And the reason being is we want to target this list component specifically and maybe not other list components on the page. But we want to hide the table actions. So the button to refresh is seen here. We want to hide this because we don't need to see that. There's only ever going to be one record for me. So I don't need to see those table actions. So I'm going to hide them. And you can see that just with that CSS I did, it kind of cleans it up and tightens things up a little bit. So we're going to do that as a small little tweak. Not necessary, but for me, I like it a little bit better. And from here, then we can go see add event, right? And then that will give us, that'll take us to a page where we can then have a form to add new events for the family, and same with the list. So right now, these are just blank detail pages, but we'll go back and fill those out now. One thing I noticed when I was looking at this page is I want to make kind of keep this emoji theme going. So for the dashboard, the family dashboard, we're going to make this look just a little bit nicer here. So family dashboard, family calendar, we're just going to copy some of these emojis over, and the lists. Okay, and from here, I think what we'll also do is just add a couple more items to our menu, just since we're sitting here doing the menu. We'll add three more items. 1, 2, 3. Did I get them all? Yes, 1, 2, 3. And the first one is going to be my account. So this is going to take us to our profile page. So that's found under the user type, and we'll do profile. The next one, or next two, are going to be for signing in and signing out. So sign out is going to be log out, and sign in is going to be for login. So we'll take this, sign in, sign out, log in. Awesome. All right, so let's refresh. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so we're on our family dashboard, and we still have some pages left to build out. The 2 detail pages, the rest of the dashboard, family calendar, and the list page. So there's quite a bit. But see, the my account will take us here, and just let's do this too. We'll move the profile to that main layout as well, so that we still have access to our menu. Okay, so that's my account. List is blank, family calendar is blank, family dashboard is blank. Okay, so let's do the add event and add list now. So we'll go in and create those pages, and all those are going to be forms, so they should be pretty easy to create. We're going to remove this detail component. We don't need that. We'll just add a form, and this is going to be to add a new calendar record, right? We're not managing the event types right here. We're just adding a new calendar record connected to this family. And what that's going to contain is the event type, the event name, the event date, and the family members. Okay, now because we are on, hold on, let's start from the top. Event type, we're going to be able to show, we're going to filter basically all of the connections here. Starting with the event type, we're going to only show event types connected to this page's family and allow inserting a new event type. Family members, same thing. We're only going to show users that are connected to this page's family. And the reason that these options exist, you can see it says this page's family, is because we are on the detail page of a family. So we can reference that value and filter the connection fields inside of this form. That's all we need to do there. The rules, we are going to create a rule to update and set created by, I might have done this in a table rule. I think I did this in a table rule. Let's go check. Calendar rules. Yes, I did. Okay. Add event. When we, let me explain this. So the connection field for adding a new event type. So if you want to configure your event types, you want to add a new one, connect it to your family, that just by enabling that option in the form, for this connection field, allow inserting a new event type. That's going to create a new kind of subpage with a form to add that event type. We don't need the family connection on here because we're going to, that's set up on a table rule. So we should be good there to make sure that the event types that are being added are connected to the logged in users family. And now I think we're okay. I think we're good to go there. So if I go to add event, and we start to look for these event types, you can see there's only 4 showing. So vacation is currently assigned to a different family. And so I can't select that one because it's not my family's event type. But if I add something here, let's add vacation for my family, because everybody deserves a vacation. You can see now that that's a viable option for us to pick. So here's Disney World, hooray. And we're going to do, let's say we're going to do 9 a.m. I don't know. When are we going to Disney World? We're not, I wish. Sure. So we'll just do it like that. And the family members, so you can, we're only showing my family members, nobody else's family. So this is the multi-tenanted app in action now. This is going to be all of us. So we're going to select everybody and we can save this now. So now we have an event. Let's finish the actual list part of this too. So when we want to add a list, we're going to do essentially the same thing, where we have a form on the family detail page to add a new list connected to this family. And we're going to have the list type because we want to know what type of list we're actually adding. And we're going to have the ability to, first we want to filter the lists, and then we want to allow inserting a new list type. We don't need the family field here, right? Because that's getting set on a table rule. So here we're just going to give the, let's change this. List name, we're going to add that new list and give somebody the ability to then configure that list, right? Add their own list types, okay? Add list, right? Add list, good. And then I guess from the list, we're going to need to then go in and actually add list items. So let me think about that for a moment, but maybe we'll come back to that here. I mean, I know where we can do that from, but we're gonna do it off the our lists page here. So that's gonna have a detail page, and we can navigate between adding this list. We can navigate over to that list detail page, but we're not quite there yet. So for this dashboard page, let's set up something quick and easy here, which is going to be we do calendar records connected to this family member. No, we don't want that. We want to show all of the calendar because we don't want to just show my events as a family member going to the event. We want to show all of the calendar records. But here's where we're gonna set that filter that I mentioned before, where we only want to show calendar records where the entire family connection is the same connection as me as a logged in user. So I'm going to do this. You notice I did not actually select the calendar component for this. I'm just going to do a list component to kind of show this in like almost like a timeline. I could have used the timeline component, but I'm going to use the list component. So we'll give this a title, and we could say something along the lines of, this is what your week looks like. Okay. And we'll have the event type. Sure, we'll just show it like that. That's fine for now. Again, I really want to come back to this and like really spruce it up with custom component stuff. But for now, we're just going to do it like this. And one more filter that we want to add, because I said this is what your week looks like. We want to say that the event start date, I guess, is during the next one. Whoops, I did the wrong button. Event start date is during the next 1 week. That should be fine. Okay, so here we go. Now we can see that I have this upcoming event for the whole family because the event date starts within the next 1 week. So we're going to be going on a vacation, I guess. All right. So that's what this dashboard page can look like. Now we can take this many, many, many steps further, but for now, because I want to move on to the other pages and get those completed, we're going to leave this just the way it is because we kind of have the basis of what we want. And of course we can continue to add more kind of previews of other data tables, records, and other tables. But for now, again, we're just going to leave it like this. So let's move on to the actual calendar page and start to construct the calendar page. This is going to be pretty straightforward in the sense that what we are doing is just changing this to fixed so the calendar is not so huge. But this is just going to be an actual calendar component. Right now, this is going to get that same data source treatment that some of the other components have gotten, where the family is connected to the logged in user's family. And for our actual calendar itself, we will just, the date field is going to be our date range, and event type for the label. Now let's do the event name for the label. Maybe we could do event type. I guess that's okay. But we'll enable the pop-up view detail view here, and event details. And here's where we'll show the name, just to make sure that that's visible to people. So the default month color is fine. How about we'll make the default display as a week. And yeah, I think that's okay for now. So the calendar page should now look like this. Now I don't have anything for this week, but next week you could see there's our vacation set up from 9 a.m. on the 21st through the 25th at midnight. And then if we go to month view, then you can see it like that. So maybe we should start with month view. Maybe that's okay. We'll go back and change that to month, and we'll just leave it like that. So this is our calendar page. So I guess like the idea that I had in my head when I was first thinking about building this was like, man, it'd be cool if you could like display this just on like a tablet or something, in the kitchen or something, where you could just go in and view any of the events. Now, again, another thing I want to do, maybe part 2 of this video, is connecting all of this calendar stuff with Google Calendar. So you could take that route as well. So when you create an event in this app, is also going to create it in Google Calendar as well. Right. So moving on to the lists page. This is going to show all of the lists that have been created. And again, we're going to reference that add list like quick access button. So after we add the list, we're going to redirect to the list detail page so that then we can add items to that list. So for here, we are going to show lists in a list component, and that will be the list type. I don't know, this might look funny, but we'll do kind of something similar we did on the dashboard, where we're going to hide the column title and show the field value as a heading 1. And then we're going to have a detail page. We'll say view list. We'll give this our emoji here for view list, and do kind of the same thing here, large and info, and change the layout from 1 column. No, we could do 3 columns. 3 columns is actually fine because you could have more than 1 list, right? So you might have like 5 lists up here, and you'd want to be able to see all those. So we don't have a list. Let's add the list. But first, now that we have the list details, after we add our list, we're going to submit rule, and we're going to redirect to an existing page and go to lists, our lists, list details. Okay, so now when we go back to our, let's go to our dashboard. We'll just refresh, make sure everything is saved here. We're going to add our list, right? And now we can say list type. Don't I have list types here? List types. Oh, I do, but they're not connected to our family. So let's make sure that those are connected to the family so that they show. And we'll leave one that's Let's leave the chore family or chore list. That can be connected to somebody else's family. I don't want the chore list. Chores are no fun. We'll connect that to the test family. So now if we look at this where we're adding a new list, the chore is not going to show, right? Similar to the, just like the event type thing. So this will be our grocery list, right? And we're going to save that, and it's going to redirect us to the list detail page. Now, this is the next step of our build where we are going to list details, and we can do whatever we want with that detail component. It might be okay to keep there so we know the name of the list and whatnot. Why don't we do that? List type, H1. You know what I forgot? Where else did I add that H1 class? I don't know. I guess we'll come back to it. We'll find out. But here we're going to have a form to add a new list type connected to this list. No, wrong thing. Sorry. Delete that. Add a new list item connected to this list is what we want. Add a new list item connected to this list, and we'll do a quick add for that and modify this later. So the list and the family we don't need because those are being set with rules, and done. We're going to modify that later. So all we want here is just a very easy way to add items to your list. How about we just say to list, add items to list. And for the title of here, like I mentioned many minutes ago, we can change what this says. What do you want to add? Okay. That's going to add list items to our list. And we will add then a column next door to it. And for this, we'll display, we might as well be consistent and keep adding list components. So this is going to be the list items that are connected to this list. And here, we might not even need a title here. We'll just do here, this, and the done field. And we'll just split this in two so that the title is on one side and the done checkbox is on the other side. And we'll make sure that inline editing is enabled for this. And we'll just do the one column default. Okay, so here's our list details, right? So let's start with bread and milk and eggs. All right, so again, this is one of those things that I would love to come back to with the custom component and make this feel more like a checking things off a list. Like maybe even changing this from a multi-select, because I don't love the way that looks, but either way, done, right? So we can just check those off and those will be done. But when we go back to our list, you can see that here's our grocery list and here's the button to view that particular list, right? So you know what? I think at this point, I think I'm going to end. This is the end of part one. Okay, so I guess I definitely am going to come back to this as a part two to really kind of clean things up and tweak a lot of little things, because I would love for this to work really well on mobile as well, but I'm not going to invest the time in that right now. We'll definitely come back to that for mobile optimization and custom component and really trying to make things as smooth and clean as possible. So, right, for now, end one, we are done. Okay, we have our basic family planner app with the basic ideas and core structure done that can be easily repeated depending on all of the other things that you might want to include in the family planner app. So maybe you'll have a meal planning section. Maybe the chore list thing will be its own separate group of tables, right? There's lots of different things that we can add, anything that you want to kind of include in this type of application for your particular family, or adapt this to a business, right? For something that you can use within your actual business. But anyways, right, the core things here that we covered. The main things here that we really put a focus on in terms of how this particular application works is the multi-tenanted aspect of it, right? So we have users that log in. Those users have a connection to a family. So if we try to separate this from what we've been talking about for the past hour as a family planner app, if this was a company rather than a family, or a location, a facility, anything that contains or will have a bunch of users connected directly to it, then we can then filter. We can then filter through the data source filtering of different components to say that we want to make sure that this entity, whatever it is, a family, a company, a location, a facility, this entity shares the same connection as the logged in user. And that will provide the multi-tenanted build that we're looking for. And the other thing that we really kind of made this all come together and take a lot of the thought process out of the page builder side is the table rules, where for every single object that we have here, whether it's calendar, event types, list types, or list items, we use table rules to ensure that that family connection gets set to the same connection as the logged in user. So it's the two-part system here. It's the rules in the data side to set those connections, and then it's the filters on the page side to display the proper records. Okay, so anyways, that's it for part 1 of Family Planner app, this week's episode of Build It with Tim. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week. Take care.